Good afternoon, my name is Landin Guanzo. My student ID is 6196474. Today's date is April 20th, 2024, and this course is CGS 3095. The professor for this course is Patricia McDermott Wells. Okay, so the title that we'll be using for this presentation is Ethical and Global Perspectives in the First Amendment. Okay. Now, an introduction to this presentation would be, for example, the two topics I will be discussing. The first one, overview of the First Amendment and the importance in safeguarding fundamental rights. The second one I would like to discuss with you is an introduction to freedom of speech, press, and assembly. All these freedoms we have it in the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. So I will give you an introduction to freedom of speech, press, and assembly, their significance in democratic societies. I will give you key principles underlying each freedom. Okay? So, to start with, I would like to begin with the freedom of speech. Now, what is freedom of speech? Freedom of speech is a fundamental right to express opinions and ideas without censorship or restraint from anyone. You can go out. By this I mean that you can go out, say what you think about anything, any situation that is going on in the nation or in the country or around the world, and no one can stop you from saying what you believe. This is freedom of speech. Okay? Now, in the historical context and evolution, I will landmark some cases that shapes the interpretation of free speech rights. Okay? In the first one, we see the New York Times Corporations versus Sullivan. Okay, and you see that when you read this case, you see that the Constitution guarantees freedom of speech. Now, in the second one, Tinker versus Des Moines, you see also that the Constitution guarantees freedom of speech but for students. So, in these two cases, we can assume, we know that in the United States we have freedom of speech. Okay, so it's your right to have freedom of speech. Okay, so how can we apply freedom of speech in today's issues? Okay, for example, in internet pornography, by balancing free speech with the need for regulation to protect minors and prevent harm. In cryptography, we can use implications of encryption as a form of protected speech for privacy and security. In cyber hate, by addressing hate speech and online harassment while preserving free expression. And lastly, in spam, by using regulations of commercial speech and email marketing to prevent abuse and protect consumers. So these four are good contemporary issues that we can solve by that you can apply freedom of speech to these issues. Okay, so the next topic that I would like to discuss with you is freedom of the press. What is freedom of the press? Freedom of the press is essential for informing the public, holding the power to count, and fostering an informed citizenry. So the press here in the United States makes a huge impact in informing the society about the issues relating the country, any disease that is coming on. So every situation that is going on at the moment, the press, freedom of the press is very important, that keeps the society informed. So in the historical context and key cases, we can, I'm going to landmark rulings establishing press freedoms and protection. I'm giving you two cases. For example, in the Neal versus Minnesota in 1931, the Supreme Court highlights the importance of press freedom. Also, in the John Peter Senge trial, he was very important in laying the groundwork for broader press freedoms. So if you want to learn more about these two cases, I suggest you to go in the internet and read more about them, because I'm not getting into these two cases deeply. Okay, so how can we apply freedom of the press in today's issues? For example, in the internet pornography, We can use press coverage of related legal and ethical debates, including censorship and obscenity. We can use, in cryptography, we can use press reporting on encryption controversies and government surveillance efforts. In cyber hate, we can use journalism's role in composing and combating online hate speech and extremism. And lastly, in spam, we can use a media coverage of anti-spam legislation and industry practices. So I think that these four are a good examples of how to use freedom of the press to contemporary issues. Okay, so the last topic I want to discuss with you is the freedom of assembly. What is freedom of assembly? Freedom of assembly is vital for civic engagement, collective action, and political expression. So what do I mean by this? Is that you have the right, if you are not agree with anything that is going on in your nation or in your country, it's your right. If you want, you can go in a collective action, reunite people, get together, and express your opinion. This is your right in this country. Okay, this is inside the First Amendment of the Constitution. Okay, so in the historical context and key cases, I would like to highlight also two cases, okay, where the Supreme Court's rules protecting assembly rights, including protests and gatherings. Okay, so yes, you have the right to protest and gather with other people. Okay, you have the right. Okay, peacefully. Now I'm giving you two cases. For example, the NAACP versus Alabama in 1958, in which the Supreme Court states a violation of the First Amendment rights to freedom of assembly and association. In the second case that I'm providing to you, we can see the Cox versus Louisiana in 1965, in which also the Supreme Court reaffirmed the right to assemble peacefully. So these two are good examples of its historical context about the freedom of assembly in the United States. So make sure you read about it. Now, how can we apply this freedom of assembly to contemporary issues? Okay, first, in internet pornography, you can use digital communities and activism promoting awareness and education. In cryptography, we can use forums and gatherings discussing encryption technologies and privacy concerns. In cyber hate, we can use online platforms and spaces for organizing against hate speech and discrimination. And in spam, we can use collective actions and advocacy groups combating the spamming practices. So I think that these four are good practices on how to apply the freedom of assembly into contemporary issues. Okay. Now, in conclusion, I want to recap of the First Amendment's importance in protecting freedom of speech, press, and assembly. I want to highlight that everyone in the United States must know all these rights that we have in the First Amendment. It's our necessity to know that we can go out and stand up. If you want to discuss anything that you are not familiar with, or anything that is going on that you don't like, you can go up, stand up, and give your opinion. Okay, I want also to reflect about the ongoing challenges and debates in the digital age. For example, when we talk about internet pornography, the cryptography, the cyber hate, the spam, all these recent digital age issues, reflect on it and reflect on what we can do to surpass or get better on these issues, okay, to fix these issues. And also, I would like to call to action for upholding and defending this freedom in a changing society. So I want you to step up now that you know all this freedom, of these rights that you have and freedoms that you have, to stand up to action. I want you to think about it. Okay, now I'm providing to you, this is a diagram, a table for you, so you know the percentage of Americans who know their First Amendment rights. For example, the freedom of religion, we're about 30%. This all these 5 needs to go as high as possible. Look how low the freedom of the press is. The peaceable assembly, the petition of the government, all these are rights that we have that many people, they don't know. And look how many people, they don't know that we have rights. Look at the percentage. So this column we need to lower as much as possible. The more the better. So it needs to be the lower the better. So, and this 5, it needs to go as high as possible, because everyone in the United States should know all the rights. Okay, and lastly, for those who don't know the rights that we have, I want you to step up and first learn the historical context of the rights that we have. I want you to then read about the freedom of speech, religion, assembly, and then about the petition of the government. Okay, and right here we have all the references where I got the pictures and where I got the informations in this presentation. Okay, thank you for your time, and I hope this presentation really makes you reflect about the situation and the issues related to the recent digital age. Okay, thank you for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful day.